Overall, I kind of dig it, but it could be.
Son, what are you watching there?
Well, Dad, it's Larry Arts Productions, home to many types of content, including stop motions, reviews, unboxings, and other types of videos.
I knew getting the internet for my kid was a mistake. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the ISRC Race Car Graveyard Truck Series. Tonight, it is the last race of the regular season, and it's the night for drivers to put their final foot forward. 16 drivers are going to make it into the playoffs, and 14 positions are practically sealed. Just by starting, 14 drivers are going to be in, but 2 spots still wide open on who's going to grab those positions. We were given reports just a few weeks ago. Cedric Hunter, who's inside of our top 16, will not be racing in the playoffs, so that bumps the cutoff line to 17th place of Matt Upbrook and Christopher Norris, the 2 drivers that are inside of our top 16. And then you've got Eric Stamp, that of Gregory Smith, and Jordan Schmeets, all with a chance to make it in the playoffs. Those 5 drivers trying to make it in, all in a difference of 6 points on who is in, who is out. Get your popcorn ready. It's the last great Coliseum. Tonight, it's the Bristol Thunder 200 for the ISRC Truck Series. My name is Sam Dyer. With me is Zach Hall. Zach, tonight, they couldn't have asked for a better place to see who's going to be in the playoffs and who's not.
They really could not have asked for a better place here, Sam, as Bristol is just such a tough and rumble racetrack that you have to stay on top of things. And when there's only 6 points separating all those drivers trying to get into those final 2 spots, we could see some fireworks fly. And I tell you, it's going to be critical. Stage points, we always talk about how important they are, but maybe no more important tonight, because you never know what's around the next corner for these laps.
That you really don't know, as right now drivers underway with qualifying. They still have 2.5 minutes left before they're done. Over 30 drivers registered in to race this evening, and right now it's Mark Whitley with the pole. But Zach, this track, as they're coming around the corner trying to set their positions to tackle this 200-lap race, drivers like we just saw there by the 6, Justin Smith, he's one of those drivers that needs to have the great performance for himself, as he is really one of those drivers who's in the cutoff zone, only 2 points out. It could be crunch time for these drivers. Even Eric Stamp, he was coming in over Discord. Just, you could tell how intense some of these drivers are feeling. It is going to be chaotic one, as Ethan Smith, the driver that got the pole here last season, he's hoping to be on top of the board once again.
Ethan Smith definitely has shown a lot of speed when it comes to these concrete tracks. At one point, we were calling him the Concrete King there, as he was really dominating on those style surfaces. But we'll get to see what he can produce here. That first lap around was a 15 flat, but the second lap is where the speed is as he comes out of 4. Let's see where this places him on the board. A 14.755 right now. That'll be 4th fastest on the leaderboard.
4th fastest is going to put him 2nd in line. And if we look back at the past, this racetrack last season, almost every race I feel like we've gone to so far, when you talk about Bristol in season 1, season 2, and season 3, Zach, the early wreck, that could always causes so much calamity that these drivers all have been very worrisome about. I was talking to about 6 or 7 drivers during the practice session, getting their thoughts of coming into this race. And a lot of them said, hey, we could see a big one strike early.
31 trucks out here, man. That just leads into a race car graveyard, as I would say, because it can easily end up in that quick pile up there early in the start of these races, and especially on the cold tires. That's one thing I think we'll have to key on for a little bit of the night, is how these cold tires affect the drivers, and they're going to be on edge as those tire temps begin to rise. So we'll see who can master it, stay out of trouble, because it could be that first wreck, that first critical big one that does most unfortunately usually happens here at Bristol. If you can get through that one, miss it, you're gaining tons of spots over the rest of the drivers around you. So we'll have to see how this one shakes out, because it's going to be fun all night long.
You're going to want a clean truck as well. Qualifying is coming to a conclusion. Right now, Mark Whitley, top of the board. We do have 3 drivers, though, that are going to start with an EOL to start this race off. Ollie Fonseca, Jordan Schmeets, who needs a fantastic run, one of his best runs of the season if he wants to make it into the playoffs, and that of Ryan Ferraro. All 3 drivers caught with that of a speeding penalty. I mean, that of, excuse me, of an ARCA brake penalty for coming into the lap 18 major wreck that happened last week at Kansas. So they'll start at the end of the line, but qualifying is done. The drivers are set. They're ready for 200 laps. And let's see where the ISRC Race Car Graveyard Truck Series drivers are going to start out here tonight. Again, for that of the Bristol Thunder 200. Taking the pole award, going to be that of Mark Whitley for himself, getting his first pole here at that of Bristol. Malik Kuntz, his best start so far in second place for the 98. Can he finish inside the top 15 tonight? We'll see if he can do that for himself. John Forbes, a driver that has won here back in season 2, going to be starting in 3rd, with Ethan Smith going to be in 4th. Nick Crawford, winner of this race last season, going to be in 5th. Danny Cochran in 6th. Cody Reed in 7th. 8th is going to be Noah Steele, with Trent Jump and GT Rosari finishing out your top 10.
In the 11th position, it's going to be the 72 Jonathan Smith. Good qualifying effort from him. 12th is going to be the 12 of Ryan Crowfoot. 13th is going to be Logan Brakey. 14th is going to be Cedric Hunter. Justin Smith's going to need those points here tonight, starting in that 15th position, and also needing points right behind him. In 16th is Matt Upbrook. Eric Stamp's going to start in 17th. 18th is going to be Dakota Moniz. 19th is going to be Christopher Norris, and rounding out the top 20, it's Cody Smith.
And Zachary Peterson in 21st, with Tyler Horn going to be in 22nd, Jesse Thornock in 23rd position. 24th is going to be that of Joshua Kanata. Joshua Alta is going to be in 25th, with Jordan Schmitz 26th position, but he will be given to EOL. He'll go to the end of the line for the start of this race. Mark Morales in 27th. Aldi Fonseca, who gets a penalty for himself, he'll start at the end of the line, but will be in 28th position. 29th is going to be Joshua Freed. Ryan Ferraro, another driver, is going to have a penalty in 30th. 31st is Austin Halsey in 32nd position. That of Tyler Dangler just getting in for himself. Zach, 32 trucks here tonight. That is a lot of drivers, especially on the fact that we've had a smaller-ish field for the last couple of weeks.
It is a growth in numbers for sure this week, and Bristol being the final race in the regular season, it's just brought that much more excitement in for these drivers. And the cool thing, I think, going through the grid there, we saw, Sam, was you had drivers like Justin Smith, Matt Upbrook, Eric Stamp, Christopher Norris. I mean, all separated right there by literally like one position. Dakota Moniz like being in between them. So that is the group that really needs the best runs here tonight to be able to push themselves into those final 2 slots. And they're going to be starting off right near each other, so they get to see their competition quickly.
A lot of favorite drivers not going to be able to make it into the playoffs. Already has been eliminated. That of Joshua Freed, Kyle Rochelle, Kyle BT, Tyler Horn, and that of Ryan Crowfoot and Mark Morales. Those drivers were really hoping for a good season, but they came up shy on the points. They are too far back for being to make it into our top 20 and then get a win. That is the only way that you can find yourself that deep in the points. We're not able to break that barrier. So right now, it is just a 5-horse race to make it in. Again, that is Christopher Norris, Matt Upbrook, Eric Stamp, Justin Smith, and Jordan Schmitz. 6 points different coming into tonight are the difference between those 5 drivers, and only 2 of the 5 move on into the playoffs. And Christopher Norris, Zach, as we're about to get ourselves green, he has found himself last season being tied twice in that of getting into the playoffs, and then also the next round, making it to the round of 12. So 38, no surprise, these nail-biter situations. He's hoping to make it into the playoffs once again. But up front, it is time for us to go Bristol Thunder Racing here tonight, as it's going to be Mark Whitley, Malik Coates heading down into turn number 1. Can they survive the first couple of corners? So far out of the exit of turn number 1, looking good for our leaders, but it's turns 3 and 4. We saw the calamity last season. Going to be seeing so far everyone surviving for now. That's a good first lap, and it's Mark Whitley leading lap number 1.
Great start to the opening lap. There's on lap number 2 now, finding their groove here as these tires start to build up the temperature. The grip levels start to pick up, and right now could be a critical time to gain some track position if you're looking for stage points. But there's drivers in the wall. It's Ryan Crowfoot in the 12. He is checked up a ton, and he is stuck against the wall there. Very slow coming off the 4.
And it looked to be some hard contact between himself and some of the other drivers ahead of him, as drivers are trying to avoid contact with one another. But Ryan Crowfoot, another situation. He had these woes in the beginning of the season, and they strike once again for that machine of the 12. Heavy damage and into pit road immediately for himself.
And look, I went back and looked at that, folks. It was the 72 of Jonathan Smith. Just got very, very loose, lost the truck, corrected back up to the right with the steering wheel, and Crowfoot, unfortunately, was the innocent bystander there sitting on the outside and kind of just got completely body slammed into that outside wall. And That's an early amount of damage for him that has took him out of contention here or anything. But the 15 of Matt Uppbrook here off of 4 guys, he's going to spin, and there's going to be a caution on the speedway here early, but luckily, I think most drivers should make it through.
Austin Halsey getting a little bit of help, it looked like there for the 99, as that is going to be an extra spin after the fact. But Matt Uppbrook, the driver that is a part of that 5-horse race to make it into the playoffs, caught in some early trouble for himself as, oh boy, here we go. It's already showing Zach we're going to have a fun night tonight with some of these drivers having troubles as we're getting this replay up. Look to be 3 different scenarios happening there with, Matt Uppbrook bringing out the yellow. Then Austin Halsey had trouble, and it looked like there was some trouble as well ahead of those drivers with the 5 of Dakota Moniz. But we're first going to check out what brought out our initial yellow. And Zach, as we take a look here, I mean, this 15 trying everything he can to get this machine out of the corner.
Yeah, you'll see he enters in that middle part of the racetrack there. He's going to turn down here on this late exit portion. And you can already see the truck is stepping out sideways there on this exit. Uppbrook just going to be along for the ride at this moment, as you're going to see Jonathan Smith there barely avoid hitting that back bumper. And right here, he's just going to lock it down. But I think, like you said, Sam, there was 2 other incidents that happened. We have Halsey coming up here in the 99. He's trying to get slowed down for this. And I think he got the 51 there of Ferraro right behind him and just going to clip that right rear bumper, spin him around. And even, like you said, you had Dakota Moniz. He had some contact up ahead. Someone spun him around up ahead of this group. So, and you can see right there, and his contact was actually a little bit more than the majority of the other ones.
Yeah, it was some contact with the 7 and Cody Smith going to the outside of the 5 that got that of Dakota Moniz spun around, which then the 5 actually got in front of the 16 of Joshua Kanata and gave some damage to Kanata's front right bumper. So a lot of drivers getting a little ticky-tacky bumps here or there. The worst of it, though, will be given to that of Ryan Crowfoot, who is still in pit road after his initial wreck that did not bring out a yellow, surprisingly. First caution of the day coming there, showing that tires are not happy. Zach, I mean, we were only about that 5 laps in and already saw drivers getting very much out of shape.
Very much, Sam. Yeah, it's going to happen a lot, I think, here tonight with especially these early runs. Like the first really 10 to 15 laps, you're still building up the heat in the tires. And it's just always seems like the stability is just not perfectly there when you're coming off the corner exits here. And especially when you see drivers doing what Uppbrook did. You kind of run that middle line and cut down the racetrack. To cut down that racetrack, you're cranking on that wheel and turning those wheels to the left, trying to make that truck cut down to the bottom. And when you do that, it's going to load up that front end, and you're going to have a lot of times that rear end wanting to step out there late like that on exit. Luckily for everybody's case, most made it through scot-free, but we could see that being a big factor throughout the night. People coming off these corner exits and just losing the rear end.
As drivers still under pacing. Oh, I know we didn't notify, but our stage break will be on that at the end of lap 75. Big bonus points that can be grabbed there. Other ways that these drivers can grab bonus points: leading a lap, 1 bonus point for yourself. Leading the most lap is 3 bonus points. Having 0 incidences, that means not hitting the wall, not losing control of your car, or hitting any other drivers. That's an extra bonus point. And then the big ones that can be grabbed, stage points. And Zach, that's what the drivers are mainly aiming for.
Mainly definitely aiming for those stage points. I mean, you know, that group that needed points there was all starting around in the mid portion of the pack. All of them are trying to get their way closer up there to get those stage points. Justin Smith seems to be the closest one to being able to do that. We'll see how it works out as we go back green.
Back to green flag action. Everyone going to be on those older tires. How will they react on this restart? Well, let's find out at the exit turn number 1. Everyone looking solid, but it's 3 and 4 up to full speed on how the rear ends want to handle, and it looks to be solid for everyone up front. Back half the field looking casual as well, as Mark Whitley just looking dominant right now. And Zach, I think that's the one thing that 77 wanted, a good start to keep him up front.
That's all you need here at Bristol. If you have that clear track up ahead of you, you can really decide a lot of things that go down. And with the 2 of Danny Cochran behind him, he's got a sizable gap where he can kind of move around the lines. He can enter low, enter high, and try different things out. And that's what you want to have, is because Bristol has tons of options out there available to you. And right now, it seems like everybody committed to that bottom side. And what I think mostly a lot of people commit to that bottom side for is it is just much better on the tires. It's quick, but it's also much better on the tires, where that outside groove really takes a toll on your front tires.
A huge jumble of drivers deeper in the field. Going to be around that is Zachary Peterson checking up a lot of drivers, and a lot of them caught up in that Upbrook. Christopher Norris losing a lot of ground as this gaggle of cars back here from 20th on back had to check up.
Huge checkups, and that's going to happen at Bristol a ton, man. I tell you, it's a place that it just seems like always there's something about you having to slow up, and that trickles down the line, especially when you have 32 trucks out there. And Peterson in the 96 seems to be struggling with that truck here a little bit right here. So he's got Thornock right behind him, and also Christopher Norris, like you said, he lost out the biggest there of everybody as he fell back from around 20th to about 26th now. That 38, he's got to stay out of trouble. He came in tonight good on points, but with how close it is, Sam, you can't have any loss of points here at these stages.
Absolutely not. And also with that, Matt Upbrook, who is the driver that was going to be given that 16th place position with that Cedric Hunter backing out of the playoffs. 15 machine needs a lot of points after his early woes of a spin out, bringing out our first caution. 15 right now in 22nd position, and one of the drivers that he's trying to beat out, Jordan Schmitz in the 4, up to 21st position, up 5 positions from where he started. Remember, started out with the EOL, was sent to the end of the line. A good start here by the 4 machine.
That is a great start there for the 4. This is a track that you can have a lot of big movement due to the, got a caution again.
Caution. And it's going to be some of the drivers up front. It's actually Cedric Hunter in the 13. It's going to be the driver spun around as he tries to get himself woed and circled up. And so he tries to back up and get moving as our leader's going by. That could be forcing the 13 to go a lap down.
And he's got heavy damage on the front end of that truck, and seemed like got caught up in another driver's mistake. And that's how fast things can happen at Bristol. We'll see it a lot here tonight. It's not usually the driver that makes the mistake that's in the worst position. It's sometimes the driver that gets caught in that person's mistake that gets put in a bad situation. And as we dial this one up, man, I tell you, it's Cedric Hunter's had a tough season when it comes to trouble like this.
He really has. I know he came off of last season, made it to the Final Four, and kind of knew right now he's challenging for the team championship, but this is what gets the 13 in major disappointment as the 6 gets really loose on the outside, trying to crank that wheel, comes down, taps the 13, and hard contact there. But this is where it gets interesting. When the 13 tries to flip it around, Christopher Norris almost T-boning his former teammate.
That was close for sure there. That's not what you want to see if you were Christopher Norris. That probably stopped his heart rate there just a tiny bit there. And I don't know why he turned on the racetrack there, but that was closer than it probably should have been.
Absolutely. Well, we talked about that big checkup in the middle of that run. One of the drivers coming into pit road for damage repair going to be Jesse Thornock in the 20 machine. Up front, though, got to be still Mark Whitley, Danny Cochran. Well, let's talk about the driver that is in 3rd place currently right now, Malik Kuntz. He has had every problem from self issues to that of being caught up in other wrecks. A driver that we're seeing up in the top 5, 3rd place, qualified 2nd. But right now, I'm crossing my fingers for knocking on some wood because this 98 has had some terrible runs this season.
It has been awful, to be plain and simple. I mean, with how he's running at the start of races and through the mid-portion of races, you would think he would be in contention for possibly a playoff, run, but he's actually nowhere even near that. I mean, he is well outside of contention there. I mean, it's just been one of those seasons where he just hasn't been able to complete races. I mean, no top 10s, no top 5s, and he's ran in the top 10 and top 5 pretty much every single race of the 90 started. And I mean, 30th in points. That just shows how bad his races have went from really the start to the end of the finish. And hopefully, like you said, cross our fingers, keeping everything, all the bad juju away from him, because, man, it's just been a tough season when it comes to getting a finish for him.
And then behind that 98 machine in 4th, 5th, and 6th place from Blackjack Racing, Ethan Smith, Cody Reed, John Forbes, 3 drivers that have been practicing, trying to get themselves perfected for this race. And they've been trying to figure out this truck. They gave me a lot of knowledge when I was listening to them an hour before the session popped up. And they were really trying to just hone in, figure out this track, little nuances to find a little bit extra speed. They were seeing that it was a lot of stay low at the beginning, maybe move up gradually throughout the run. We'll see how that information that they've learned is going to help them get to victory lane as Mark Whitley trying to do it again. He has been so dominant this season. 3 wins in total for the 77, looking for his 4th. and he could be doing it here tonight. Season 1, he led every single lap to victory lane. That was 150 laps then. We have 200 here tonight. As the pace car pulls off, it's time for the Bristol Thunder 200. We're back under green flag conditions, and the 77 is gone like a rocket ship again.
Out there really fast for sure, taking that lead, and Danny Cochran luckily holds on the second there, but the battle for third is on. As looks like Malik will clear that 00, and everybody will get in line, but the first one on the outside back there, bound for position is the 74, Nick Crawford, as he looks to go forward, as he's got Trenton jumping the 46 to his low side.
These two had a great battle 2 weeks ago at Fuji and that of the road course. Now tonight, side by side for 7th place. But Trenton Jump looks to be giving up that position. Nick Crawford, winner of this race last season, trying to get back into that lead position, but he's got some drivers behind there looking hungry as GT Irizarry bounces it to the outside of the 8 machine and no steal.
Yeah, some people looking to go around that outside, and you see that they're not going very far to the outside. They're just kind of trying to pinch off that truck on the bottom, hold them down to that lower groove and get the good one off the corner. And you know, that is a good opportunity to set up passes, but in my opinion, that will seem to hurt the tires. You got to carry that a little bit more speed on the outside groove, and it can end up coming back to bite you here. But if we get a good bit of cautions here in this first stage, I don't think tire wear is going to be too much of an issue for some of these drivers.
I don't see it being too big of an issue either, as we are seeing a lot of aggressive driving here tonight of drivers recognizing, hey, we got to get moving forward the best that we can as we're on board with that of Nick Crawford in the 74. We're seeing that he's trying to stay low, and the majority of the field is staying low for themselves. I think that's the one thing that I've enjoyed about Bristol as a track, Zach, is the history of this track evolving on iRacing and the different lanes that people have been trying to find where the extra speed is with all the updates that have been coming through.
It has changed a ton. Let me tell you, through all the time I've been on here on iRacing, we've ran every single spot on this racetrack. And personally, in my opinion, right now, it may be at its best state. This bottom groove, so good for conserving tires, so good for even making speed. That's why you're seeing a lot of people up there. But you have the ability to do right here what we're watching. You can go up the racetrack, find some clean air, and try to drive around that driver on the outside. And I think that is what's making Bristol so much better. Is it was a previous couple years ago very much top dominated. You just had to get to the top, and making passes on the bottom were almost impossible. But with the bottom being the preferred way around right now, it really allows that outside to be a good option for making passes.
As see here, the 5 machine, Dakota Moni, is trying to run his way forward. He was kind of part of the group that had to really check up and lost a lot of time. Dakota, one of the drivers, says, oh no, Mark Morales, Zach Peterson, and going to be seeing others sliding and trying to slow down, but the brakes make him go sideways even more. Third caution of the day, strikes here on lap 38.
It is so fast to happen, man. Something just happens, you know, it can even happen 5 to 6 positions up ahead of you on track, and you're there in about a second to 2 seconds, and that's when the reactions are so critical for making moves. And drivers right there, unfortunately, could not make the right ones, as it was just kind of one of those incidents that, you know, led to another.
And Martin Morales seemed to be kind of the center catalyst of that incident. A lot of different movements of going low, high, and hitting almost every driver in between. Cedric Hunter going to be one of the drivers that tried to slam on the brakes, and I think his rear brakes might have been adjusted a little bit too aggressively. That got him spinning, but honestly got a little bit less damage than I think he would have grabbed if he went in there 100%. As drivers now in a questionable spot as we are halfway through our stage break, until our stage break at the end of lap 75. Drivers could think about coming into pit road for tires, and you've got 4 sets to work with, but you got to make this decision quick.
If you're one of those drivers looking for stage points, you might be willing to risk it right now. But the only concern I have for, you know, doing that is you can't give up too much track position. If you're within the top 15, I don't think you can do it. But if you're outside that top 20, I mean, you can make that decision to come down pit road, get that set of tires, and possibly try to have that advantage for these last, you know, half of the stage, and you could really try to make up those spots that way. But from what I was seeing there, you know, the fastest lap time we had turned from our leader, Mark Whitley, was a 14:75 up front. Before that yellow flag flew, we were seeing about 15 ones, 15 flats, and 15 twos all around. So not a crazy amount of fall off already, about only a half a second. So it's not like you're going to gain too much time by taking those tires. But if you're way back there and you need those points, it could be your opportunity.
And one of those drivers going to be Matt Upbrook, who came in tonight being 1 point above that of Eric Stamp, deciding, hey, I need bonus points. I need those stage points. Taking his set of tires is first of 4 that all drivers are given into pit road. And as the 15 comes in, one of the drivers calling it a night, that of Ryan Crowfoot, is done for the 12. You hate to see it for a driver again, like we noted on, had very much unfortunate races earlier in the season. Thought he was on the up and up of finally finding some consistency, but it does not come here easily at the last great Coliseum of Bristol. Crowfoot is out. Zach Peterson forced it coming to pit road with required damage, and the rest of the field getting ready for this restart with Mark Whitley up front with Danny Cochran in second place. And these two had a legendary run at Phoenix last season, battling for the championship. And now this season seems very different. I mean, Zach, we look at the stats of this season, and there are 2 drivers that completely blow my mind on the fact that they still don't have a win. That's the 2 of Danny Cochran and Ethan Smith, still searching for their first win, as they're going to be starting as the 2 top drivers on the outside.
It is very head-scratching. I mean, our defending champion, Danny Cochran, looked so strong last season, and not to say he hadn't looked strong this season. He's had a lot of, hiccups there with mistakes himself, and even drivers, have those mistakes we've seen that can take you out. So, not, crazy to say he has not a win, but it is very interesting to say the least.
Very much so. As Mark Whitley into the restart zone, and we're back to green flag action. 77 takes off into the corner. Going to be seen that of Kanata back out on track on the inside, but our leaders still on 43 lap old tires, and the aggression starting to show as drivers recognize it is time to move up into the top 10 if you haven't already, as we're seeing the gaggle of cars side by side. It's the teammates for 4th place. John Forbes, Ethan Smith keeping it side by side. Trent jumping, Cody Reed gonna be right behind him.
Forbes trying to utilize that top groove and carry the momentum. He should be able to clear his teammate Ethan Smith there and get the pass done. Look at Cody Reed too, the other black track truck. They're looking for some spots. He may have made a little bit of a sudden move there, and that might have got him a little bit checked up there, allowing Nick Crawford here to close into that back bumper. But we got a great group of drivers here, and it just shows you how stacked this league is with these drivers right here battling just on the edge of the top 10.
Trying to keep it close with one another. Cody Reed, Nick Crawford, but side by side, it's going to be GT Arizari, who has been one of the drivers trying to stay moving forward. Losing 2 spots is the 8 machine you see on screen, and Noah Steele. Behind Noah Steele is going to be the teammate from Armadillo Racing. That is going to be Logan Brakey, who's in the white, but closing in fast. Started with the EOL up to 12th place. Ollie Fonseca, one of the faster drivers, the 24 on the move, just getting by Justin Smith, who needs those bonus points.
Big movement from him through the field, 28th to 12th position right now. That is insane to say already, just through 48 laps. So great job by him. We'll have to watch him as the race plays out here longer if he's able to get himself up in the mix. But we got some crazy battling back farther around the 5 of Dakota Moniz. They were almost 3 wide back here, and they're actually in the wall now, as it looks like Tyler Horn put the 5 there, and now it's checked up this whole group, and luckily we stay green somehow.
They were 3 wide in 3 different incidences, and honestly, I'm surprised they're still pointing straight. Yes, Dakota got the worst of it into the outside wall, but oh no, Matt Upbrook in front of him gets loose. Going to be causing a slight checkup. He comes back up into the track, 3 wide, now going to be 2 wide through the back half of the field. And oh boy, the 15, he got fresh rubber, but it's already looking burnt off with the way that he's running right now.
And I think he kind of forgot about how this plays out. When you get that new rubber put on that truck, it is still cold. And it's tough to, just make those tires grip up. And with this group so stacked up right here, this is a dangerous point, especially for Christopher Norris there in that 38. We can see on the bottom of that white truck. If this all happens to be a wreck right here, he does not need this to happen where he's located in points.
No, he does not at all. And it's Joshua Altus, Tyler Horn that are kind of being the valve right now, allowing drivers to go side by side. But Tyler Horn does not look comfortable in that of the 26 machine. Everyone's trying to figure out how to get by, and it's the whole entire outside lane that is just being held up at this moment as they are not able to get moving. It's just a complete accordion effect on the exit of the corner. Jesse Dornick finally gets an opening, and just looking chaotic back here, racing just to get inside of the top 15.
Yeah, you're exactly right, and it's not even a battle too with the 13 and the 13 and the 20 are not battling with these guys for position, Thornock and Hunter. They're actually battling for the lucky dog along with Mark Morales right there in the 91. So that lucky dog battle, it's very much consuming these drivers. And Christopher Norris able to get the pass down on Tyler Horn to move himself up the 22nd now. That's it's good for him to get past that, because it does, like you said, Sam, look like Tyler Horn is a little bit out of control here with this truck.
And Tyler Horn almost has the entire field going on by. It has been a very much an unlucky regular season for the 26 driver with the most incident points out of anyone throughout the regular season. But as we move up, seeing some other drivers that need to be moving forward. Here's Joshua Altus, but behind him is the 53 of Eric Stamp, who was 1 point out from Matt Upbrook. Based on where they're running right now, they would be tied for that position, and Justin Smith would bounce out Matt Upbrook, and it would actually be, I believe, that of Eric Stamp and Matt Upbrook tied, which I think the advantage would actually go to the 53. With this pass is about to be made, it would be solidified with Eric Stamp taking that position, which is going to be an evolution throughout the night on how the drivers get their points. But Zach, based on what I'm seeing right now, none of the 5 drivers that need bonus points are in position to grab those stage bonus points.
That they are not. Justin Smith would be the closest one in the 14th position at the moment. And, you know, with the way this is playing out right here, he's about a second to almost 2 seconds back from that 10th position. So this is going to be tough with the way the timing of this is going to happen. Also, another thing that's about to play out here probably before we even get to that lap 75 stage break, our leaders are quickly catching up to the rear of the field too. So this could get a little bit hairy with Mark Whitley catching up to the back of this field.
That it very much could, as Tyler Horn actually has already been caught. He is currently running the apron to allow drivers to get on by, which, I mean, when you're a driver that's running slower than our leaders, this track very difficult to get out of the way as a lap car. Leaders always going to be in the knowledge of catch up to somebody in front of you. I hope that they're going to be either cautiously avoiding you or quickly just get out of the way, because it can be dangerous in a blink of an eye, just like we've already seen so far tonight, as we are going to see the yellow strike. And unfortunately, it is going to be right in front of our leaders as Zachary Peterson has to quickly dive down low in front of our leaders.
Oh man, Peterson is having a tough night here at Bristol, and that was so close. He almost just let the brake go and rolled right back down in front of our leaders. Everybody is so lucky to get by that right there, and it just shows you, even if you're not involved in the wreck, even if you're not right in the mix of it, you could be 5 to 6 seconds down the road and you could be involved in it today here in Bristol, because you catch stuff so quickly.
And for that of Zachary Peterson, I don't think he went around by himself, but was trying to get out of the way quickly. And honestly, the quick movement that he made, it might have looked terrifying from our screen, but it honestly was the smartest move for the 96 to save the 98 of Malik Kuntz. As you watch here from the rear bumper, there's the 4 of Robert Schmeetz, who needs to get at every point possible right into the back bumper, and gives a good little small tap to that as Zachary Peterson gets him loose in the center of the corner, and there he goes.
Yeah, battling right there in the mix of things was Peterson, and you know, he was laps down, so I think maybe a few of these guys were saying, hey man, you gotta go, because I need to get up here and get some track position. But at the same time, yeah, all it takes is that slight contact, and Peterson is around like that, and so close. Like you said, Malik Kuntz was coming there on the top side. He's glad that Peterson rolled down the track, because he would have had to make a pretty aggressive move to get down from not hitting him. But it looks like pit road getting pretty busy here before the end of this stage.
Oh boy, leader's going to be seeing some drivers into pit road. Mark Whitley going to be one of those coming into pit road. Danny Cochran and Zach. Oh, the thought of drivers not getting stage bonus points, throw that out the window. There is a high possibility of bonus points being grabbed, and the chances of being bounced out from a chance to race in the playoffs are high now, as now drivers that are inside of the top 10 for bonus points: Christopher Norris in 9th, that of Jordan Schmeet's going to be in 8th, Matt Upbrook in 7th, that of Eric Stamp is in 6th, but that of Justin Smith, nowhere to be seen. He's back in 21st position.
He's on pit road, so he elected to follow the leaders of this group come down, and you know, it's going to be a short, small run here. I think, in my opinion, this is a big risk for a lot of these drivers who just took tires, put yourself in the middle part of the field, because we know how fast things can happen here at Bristol. And when you're in the middle of the field, that is the worst spot to be in for some incidents. And they're going to have drivers also, like you said, in 9th, 8th, 7th, and 6th at the moment. They're going to be fighting for everything to hold on to these stage points, because these could be the points that come back to be the difference maker when this checkered flag flies here later tonight.
Top 11 drivers did not come into pit road, but one of those 11 drivers have already come in previously. Matt Uppbrook came into pit road that of 30 laps ago, so he'll have the freshest of tires instead of our top 11. But Mark Whitley, Danny Cochran, who were leading this race before, going to be in that of 12th, 13th. We'll see how well they can climb through these drivers with older tires, and this is going to be our first sight of what it's like to see fresh tires versus old, with that of a 68 lap difference between the pair. Now, there were 3 cautions in between. That's going to be giving a little bit of assistance to that of John Forbes, Ethan Smith, and Cody Reed, but it's all about the drivers that are 6th down to 9th. Those are all drivers that need some massive bonus points. Those are 4 out of the 5 that are seeing if they can make it into the playoffs with only 2 spots open. Well, let's get ourselves ready. Hopefully you've already got your popcorn, because a stage break in just 6 laps. Who's going to get the bonus points? Let's find out. It's a pace car pulls in. Green flag back into the air, and here we go. It's going to be that of Blackjack Racing. 1, 2, 3, down into turn number 1.
Yeah, they're leading the way right now, but it's going to be all about those drivers from 6 on back. Eric Stamp right now holding strong on that outer groove, that red truck up top there in the 53. He's holding on to position, and right now it's Uppbrook, the one that's going backwards right now. Those new tires not firing off as well as I think a lot of these drivers thought.
They've got to be careful. Again, we talked about the fact that these drivers are going to be very loose in the first 2 to 3 laps with new rubber. It takes a little bit before that they're fully warmed up, and right now Danny Cochran is going to be leading those with the fresh rubber up to just 10. Only up 1 position, about to be grabbing more, but as you see on screen, the driver that's on the move, carving his way in the white, that's Christopher Norris. That's already passed Uppbrook as well, is trying to make the pass by that of Schmitz. He's already done so. Next driver in line going to be Eric Stamp to try to maximize his points over his competition.
He's doing a great job right now, driven up to 6th and going to be looking for a top 5 spot here, and maybe possibly save those tires a good bit where he was running back farther and got the slot in behind the 53 for now. But the speed is there, and with not many laps to go in this stage, he should be able to hold on to a few points.
And the fact that he's at least ahead of Schmitz as well as that of Uppbrook and that of Justin Smith. Big points can be grabbed over those drivers. This is all it's about. It's okay if you've only got 1 driver ahead of you, as long as you finish ahead of the group as a whole. And also you got to be trusting Danny Cochran to be the difference maker to split them up. Drivers getting loose behind, but across the line, that's your stage break as the yellow flag flies, and it's going to be seen. That of John Forbes, Ethan Smith, Trenton Jump, Cody Reed, Eric Stamp, Christopher Norris, then Danny Cochran, Schmitz, Logan Brakey, and GT Irizarry, as I believe Matt Uppbrook, and that of Jordan, going to be seeing that of Uppbrook as well as Justin Smith losing out on those bonus points.
Tough break for those other drivers, but big moments for the other ones all around of Eric Stamp, Christopher Norris, and Smeech. They really enjoyed how that played out there and was much better than what it was looking like. Looked like it was bleak for a few moments with not being able to get stage points, and they come out of here with a good chunk of them.
A very good chunk of points to be added for themselves, as your stage winner are going to be that of John Forbes in the 11, as now we're expecting these drivers to come into pit road. And Zach, just like we were talking about the other drivers, they were in the thick of things in the middle of the pack that just got fresh rubber. Well, these drivers that are going to have to come to pit road, they're going to be even deeper into the field.
That they are, Sam. It's for sure going to push them farther back. I know, for drivers like Christopher Norris, Eric Stamp, that was a great call in my opinion. For drivers like John Forbes, Ethan Smith, yeah, I like the call of staying out, keeping the track position and getting the stage win. But at the same time, now they're going to be in the same position that Mark Whitley, Danny Cochran, and a few were there, of being in the marginal positions farther back in the field, and they're going to have to make sure they don't get caught up in something, because it just, again, it's Bristol. Anything can happen at this racetrack.
Oh boy, Zach, Eric Stamp staying out for an extra lap to lead a lap. That's another bonus point to that of the 53. And Eric Stamp, a big group. Now he'll pull into pit road. He'll start all the way back at the end of the line for himself, but a gutsy call but I think a good call to make sure he gets that extra bonus point. That's going to be adding to his mix and making sure that he's at least 6 points ahead of Matt Upbrook, who now has just been bounced out of the top 16.
I like that call to stay out there. That was a good job by him. I will have a little bit of concern that if pit road closed for him, because sometimes staying out like that, pit road can actually close on the next time by because it's meant for lap down cars, for the lead lap cars, and you can get caught with a penalty. I don't see any black flags yet, so I think he's all good there. It's just sometimes a circumstantial thing of just the timing of how it plays out, but looks all good so far from there, and I like that call. 1 point can mean everything, man. We've seen that before with tiebreakers.
We certainly had. Now let's talk to our stage winner of John Forbes to see how he's doing after that stage win. John, it's Sam and Zach with the booth. You got us?
Yeah, I got you guys.
I know it's going to be a quick turnaround. Man, how are you feeling after getting that stage win?
Feel pretty good. Got the teammates up here. Everyone came in, so we were able to secure a pretty good position at the end of that. But yeah, now we just got to negotiate lap traffic. It's going to be crazy. Back in the rat's nest back here. So we're just going to have to navigate it nice and slowly and get through methodically.
Yeah, John, that's kind of like what I was going to ask you, man. You're going to be back here in the mix now. How do you feel like you're going to be able to work your way through here on these tires?
I hope we get it to go long here and no big wrecks or anything, so we can get everyone spread out and just start taking them one by one. I know a lot of us went pretty hard.
Well, John, I'll send you back to your team, but good luck and hopefully be talking to you at the end of the night.
Thank you, guys.
That's going to be Blackjack driver of the number 11 machine of John Forbes, our winner here for the stage. Stage break going to be sponsored by that of Laugh Lap. If you want to go check out some great memes on Instagram, go head over to the_laugh_lap, as that is yours going to be the Laugh Lap stage break. It's time for us to get back to Green Flag Racing as they are gone here tonight for that of the Bristol Thunder 200. Danny Cochran going to be on his way. GT Rosari going to be in second. Jonathan Smith in third. Mark Whitley trapped back in fifth place.
Oh, man, yeah, that's the big thing. Mark Whitley trapped back in fifth, and Danny Cochran's work he did there to get himself farther up through that last portion of that ending of the stage, that's what's allowed him to get the lead. Let's see what Mark Whitley can do from this position now, as he's got a group of drivers battle behind him, Justin Smith and Joshua Freed.
And we talked about Justin Smith. He gave up the positioning for the stage points. That was giving him a slight buffer to work with, but throw that out the window. It doesn't matter as long as he's up front and has over a 10 position lead over his competition. The sixth machine could be making it into the playoffs, and he's doing just that as he's in sixth place, but being hunted and hounded. Here comes the battles right on the back bumper of the 39 machine of Joshua Freed as he's being pressured by Nick Crawford, and here comes Joshua Altis now.
Altis starting to creep his way into the picture. This 94, quick at Bristol. I've seen it before myself, and he could be up there right in the mix before this is all said and done with right now as he's ripping that top side, trying to go forward. And right there, you can see he's got a good run down the back straightaway, but when Free pulls up, he has to kind of lift just that little bit as he's trying to clear that 74 Nick Crawford here and get himself farther up there, and now even try to jump to the outside of the 39.
Bouncing to the outside, trying to find that momentum to get the speed. And there's almost the outside quarter panel. Gonna have to try once again. But these quick straightaways, I mean, Zach, Bristol, it's the fastest half-mile course that anyone can go to. High banks, aggressive speed. These drivers barely going under 100 through the corners, and they're keeping that speed everywhere through this track. I mean, how do you even keep yourself calm with all this madness?
It is the toughest track to focus, in my opinion, because things are happening so fast, you almost even get dizzy. It's crazy. It's one of the only tracks I also go to that I will lean my head to the left because of the banking, and you feel like you're actually on that banking a lot of times with how fast things are happening. And you gotta, it's crazy to say this, but you gotta remember to breathe when you go around this track, because I know it's been a thing that drivers talk about in the real life NASCAR Cup Series is this track happens, everything's so fast at it that sometimes you just forget to breathe because you're doing things that quickly. I mean, the speed you carry through the center of the corner, you're not going to see that at any half-mile racetrack here on iRacing other than Bristol.
And Bristol has certainly given us an early show as we've already gone past our stage break. We're about to hit the halfway marker, and drivers up front running extremely aggressive for themselves as Danny Cochran, GT Rosari battling for the lead. Two drivers looking for their first win this season. Danny, more than anyone, coming in as last season's champion, really surprised on the terrible luck that he's had. Looked very similar to the start of last season, but it's carried on throughout the season. Still no win for the 2 and the 14. This is probably his best run of the season so far that we're seeing.
It is the best we've seen him in a while for sure. And I mean, you look back at like his win in this truck series, it's at Dover. It's a concrete racetrack. So I think that kind of carries over here. High tire wear on these concrete tracks, and he's looking good at the moment. Cochran is running a very interesting line, in my opinion, and one that does concern me. The speed he's turning on that line is so fast. You get entering that middle line, and you turn down the racetrack to carry the run down the hill there in the 2. But when you do that, you're loading up that right front a ton. You're putting a lot of heat and a lot of wear building up right on that right front tire. As you can see, we enter into the corner right in the middle here. He's going to cut down very late there with a slight movement of the wheel to get that run off the corner. And again, it's fast. It's so fast doing this line. But it is also a line that I have known in the past to be very tough on the tires.
It's very tough on the tires, and I was listening to Danny and Cody Reed. They both were really putting in a lot of time before this race on trying to understand how different runs were going to change up these tires. And Danny was first initially, he said, hey, at the beginning of the week, I thought just staying low, holding that inside lane was going to be the best way to protect my tires. Figured out that I actually was being a lot more aggressive on my tires on the way that he was driving through. This 2 learned, hey, if I can move up just slightly, then crank it down, I felt like I was protecting the tires a little bit more, which is kind of odd, like you're saying, Zach. I mean, it usually is a position in a lane that we see tire wear be the most aggressive. The 2 has found something to save the tires.
Yeah, we'll see how it works out for him here if we get a long run. I tell you, I mean, this track here, you know, long runs are not common, but when you do get the long runs, tire saving is everything. This track is just a monster on the tires. I mean, you think about the speeds you carry, you don't even go below 100 mile an hour here on a half-mile circuit. That is crazy to save, first of all. And when you have those speeds like that, especially on a concrete surface, it's only going to make the tires wear that much more. So we'll see how Cochran can handle it right now. It seems like we're getting our first longer taste of a green flag run here tonight.
And as we've been into this long green flag run, drivers a note to talk about. Justin Smith in the 6 being pressured by Ollie Fonseca in the 24. Ollie going to be making this pass, been trying to make this pass a couple of times, hasn't been able to fully clear it, and it looks like he'll finally get that opportunity as the 6 of Justin Smith, he is still in a very good spot. Again, gave up the stage points that easily could have grabbed, decided to go with track position with pitting with their leaders, 10 laps for a stage break, and has allowed him to be up here in our top 10, but he's starting to fade back, which is dangerous because the drivers that pitted at our stage break, they're moving forward.
That they are. We're seeing some movement for sure through that group there as you're getting to see Fonseca drive away from this group. It's the 6 of Justin Smith. He's got Altice in the 94, the 39 of Freed there, but John Forbes in the 11 on the bottom there on the fresher tires of this group, and he's finally starting to march his way a little bit farther forward here. Also, you got Trenton Jump on that same strategy. These are the 2 drivers that have been up the farthest on these set of tires.
John Forbes doing his best to move forward. Again, a driver that has performed well at this track before, won back in season 2, and having Trenton Jump behind him, the 46 machine, the season 2 champion. So drivers that succeeded in season 2 trying to make their way forward as Joshua Free, Joshua Altus leading the high line, and Justin Smith still trying to just hold steady, but that 6 does not look stable at all. But I got to give credit to the 39 of Joshua Freed from the last season's woes, the last couple of seasons' woes, to be running as consistent as he is here tonight. Good to see as Noah Steele, and oh no, Cody Reed, a hard impact into the outside wall.
That was a huge moment right there. It was just an accordion effect. The 6 there, the 11 gets into the back of the 6 slightly, gets him loose. That checks up everybody on that bottom line. And from there, I believe it was Brakey who slid up into Reed. And just because of the check, or sorry, Trenton Jump who kind of slid up into Reed, and it shoved him to the outside wall. And right there, just a chain reaction event between 4 different drivers.
4 different drivers dealing with issues, and as that chaos is going on, our leaders dealing with a little bit of chaos as they're dealing with lap traffic for 2nd and 3rd place. It's Mark Whitley who's in the thick of things here as he's going to be having that Zachary Peterson as well as Jesse Thordick to the outside, and oh, there's that trusting aspect of if you see a driver outside, you hope that they don't come down on you.
You got to have a ton of trust, man. It's for sure. And these drivers right now are doing a good job at holding it up there, holding it up top, and letting the leaders get their way past. But here comes Mark Whitley looking for the second position, trying to take it over here on GT Rosario. It's going to be tough to do, though, because right now he's going to have that truck placed right on the door of his 77. And when that happens, you just can't roll out of that wheel there to carry the speed off the exits like you could on the bottom before. And he's just going to have to slowly work him over, just gain that nose and that positioning over the 14, and sooner or later he'll be able to clear. But the Peterson in the 96, he goes around again, and it's a caution brought out again.
Caution flag is out, and honestly, I think that saved Danny Cochran, because he was coming up to a hard battling of drivers that were a lap down. With Zachary Peterson, another caution coming out, and contact once again, getting the 96 spun around.
Seems like his bumper is a common ground for a few drivers here tonight. Don't know, exactly what keeps causing the 96 to get ran over, but just a slight bump once again. That's what sent him around there. And lap cars racing hard. Shows you just because you're a lap down doesn't mean you ain't gonna race each other hard.
That was a simple and easy tap go around. No one else was involved incident. We are actually going to take our first commercial break. We're past the halfway marker, and tonight has been chaotic. 6 cautions in. How many more will we grab before this thing is done? You are watching the ISRC Race Car Graveyard Truck Series. It's the Bristol Thunder 200, the last race of the regular season. Who's making it to the playoffs? We'll find out at the end of tonight. We'll see you after a few.
I think I watched Josh 3 or 4 times before I ran the car. He killed them every race, and it was like stout fields, like good cars, big races, and I mean, he was unbeatable. And I was like, oh man, this is, like, I'm nervous. I was so nervous getting into the car full time this year after watching Josh win 3 or 4 races straight. These cars, they have a lot of horsepower now. They have over 500, and I think 5 years ago they didn't have 450. They're gonna be a handful to drive, but just don't overdrive them. Let the car do the work.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Your eyes don't deceive you. We went from caution number 6 to 7, and it was a pretty gnarly one as the drivers for the ISRC Race Car Graveyard Truck Series tonight. It's the last race of the regular season to set up the stage of the playoffs. Bristol Thunder here tonight at Bristol has been a good one so far, and we got to give a big thanks to the sponsors here. As first one going to be Race Car Graveyard, the title sponsor of the ISRC Truck Series since season 1. If you want to start collecting diecasts, go head over to Race Car Graveyard today. They've got anything from new, used, and customs from 1/24th ratios to 1/64th ratios. And remember to use the discount code RCGY today. As well, a big thanks to that for these drivers at the Laugh Lap, as that is going to be the stage break sponsor for tonight. And as well, our last people we're going to be giving a huge thanks to is Larry Art Productions. Larry Art Productions, one of the funniest videos that you can find on YouTube. You know, watch all Larry's work today, as tonight's race is presented by Larry Art Productions, and we're back to green flag action here tonight as Danny Cochran takes us to the green. Mark Whitley going to be in second place as they are side by side for third. Nick Crawford, Malik Kuntz, as the drivers continue to rage forward, but here comes Mark back to the point.
He is firing off here on these cold tires and really able to roll that bottom, but Cochran not letting them get past just yet. They're going to be slipping and sliding off the exit of 2, heading down to 3. I think the 77 is going to try to throw it in there and clear, but a 2 backed it up, and they're going to be back side by side as they're both almost wrecking off of 4.
Got to keep it together for themselves. Last caution, well, we got another one as it's more drivers piling in. It's GT Irizarry as well. It's going to be some others piling in late, and there's some drivers running for the playoffs also involved with another incident.
No, that's not good there, Sam, for sure. Is like you said, other drivers just coming in there late and just getting involved in that one. As it was 2 playoff guys actually involved in that incident after. Oh, really, a third?
It was going to be that of Justin Schmitz, as well as Eric Stamp and Oppricle involved in it. Oh my goodness, 4 out of the 5 caught up with the secondary incident that didn't even bring out the initial yellow, I believe.
Yeah, that definitely was not the incident that brought out the yellow. As you're going to see what the incident here is. It was, well, a good bit after this incident of that next wreck. But you're going to see GT Irizarry. You got Austin Halsey here coming off of 4. GT was just involved in that last wreck there. And look at this. Comes up the racetrack. Halsey, I think, was a little loose, so he was a little bit farther down the racetrack. Those two just come together. and they're going to bounce off this inside wall. Halsey just, man, that was a heavy collision there for him, but it's up ahead of this group. Around the 6 machine of Justin Smith, I think, with just people checking up for the yellow, that causes more stuff there, as you can see right up ahead of this. There's the 6, the 4 of Schmeets in the back bumper of him. Here's the 53, like you said, of Eric Stamp, and then the 15 of Upbrook's going to be in here in a second. So 4 of the drivers that were fighting for playoff, positions, all involved in this. Christopher Norris had to love this.
I mean, this is incredible for Norris, who was in 14th position, was already ahead of that chaos, and he got to see all of it in his mirror. And now, if you're Christopher Norris, it's just run smooth. Everyone else is dealing with damage, which now is going to put all of them in a very precarious spot. For that of Eric Stamp and Upbrook, they are the 2 drivers that are battling for the cutoff. Christopher Norris is a pretty good buffer of 7 points over Upbrook, then has that of an extra going to be 9 points over Schmeets, and 10 points over that of going to be over from Norris to Justin Smith. So drivers have a pretty good buffer between one another on where they're at right now, but for that of Stamp and Upbrook, that is only a 5-point difference. Then down to Schmeets is a 7-point difference, and down to that of Justin Smith, going to be a total of that of 11 points. So a big things of shifting between these drivers. You got to be giving some big points, but with all those drivers involved with that wreck, damage is going to be the key big thing of it. Are any of those drivers' engines hampered in any way moving forward?
It could possibly be there for sure. Damage in the engine happens so quickly, especially in these trucks. And also, when you get that damage on the nose, you got to worry about the cooling. And the RPMs that you turn at this racetrack are very, very high. You're also packed up on top of each other with multiple different grooves being used. So that kind of leads to not as much clean air out there on the track to cool that nose. We could see some of that come back around to later cause the engine to expire. And if your engine expires, you are pretty much out of this thing, and that's going to be your playoff hopes completely dashed out of the way, and other drivers smiling because they know it's got a little bit easier.
A little bit easier to work with as everyone is setting up, getting prepared for this restart, and it's going to be Mark Whitley getting the point for himself on the inside, Danny Cochran to the outside, start off row number 1, then it's Nick Crawford, Malik Kuntz, as we are back to Green Flag Racing here for the Bristol Thunder 200 presented by Larry R Productions. Mark Whitley, great launch like always, but it's the battle for that 3rd position. Nick Crawford and Malik Kuntz once again.
Malik Kuntz still trying to fight for that top 5 spot here and trying to keep it together for tonight's race. And he's got 70 laps to hold on, less than 70 laps to hold on through this and get his best finish of the season. That would be a huge moat for him as he does finally clear the 74 Nick Crawford. The drivers are getting aggressive. They're starting to throw it in these corners a little bit deeper.
A little bit deeper, a little bit more aggressive each and every lap, recognizing each lap that goes on by a quicker attempt of trying to lose your chances of making some passes. Danny Cochran having a little bit of a slip. Drivers reacting over the radio for it, but they certainly, that checkup not kind to the drivers from 3rd on back. As you see there, Jonathan Smith up to 7th place, 4 positions up from where he started, and the 24 of Ali Fonseca, the biggest mover so far.
Ali Fonseca has been on a mission all day long, and right behind him, he had a major checkup there. The 8 of Noah Steele, that was almost a wreck there. Lost it out of 4, somehow gathered it up, and everybody had a checkup. Good job by Jonathan Smith and Joshua Altice there to not get involved in that, and they keep it straight for now.
Big playoff indications right now, implications, excuse me. Eric Stamp had a holding penalty, had to come into pit road. Looked to be a black flag, not cleared. When he got back to Green Flag Racing, he just got back out on track. 4 laps down is Eric Stamp in 30th position.
And it just shows you, when you get penalties here, it's not like your normal track where you would go a lap down. You go multiple laps down, and that's going to be so tough to come back from because we got a lot of trucks still out there, laps down, and not going to make it available for Eric Stamp to possibly get those laps back as easily.
Driver that's not in the playoffs but has a black flag as well, Cody Smith. Too many incidences, had to come into pit road, but there's a caution flag coming out, and it's Justin Smith who spins around for the 6. It's going from bad to worse for some of these drivers who are trying to make it into the playoffs.
And that was just a simple solo self-spin, and He did his best to try to gather it up here, but it happened so quickly. And he was having such a good run earlier in this race. I mean, I think it all went wrong for him after that one caution that everybody decided to pit there about 10 laps before the end of the stage, and he gave up a lot of track position. And from there, he's just been kind of trapped back here.
This is not looking good for that of Eric Stamp. There are so many drivers a lap down. For him to get back onto the lead lap, Eric Stamp is going to need a total of around, I believe, 12 cautions. And with all those cautions, he needs drivers not to be going a lap down in front of him. Being 5 laps down, he has to see everyone else that is ahead of him get all their laps back before he can start. Tough spot for the 53, who at the end of the stage, when I calculated the points there, Zach, he was in second. He was in that 16th position. Now he is at the whim of seeing if Matt Uppbrook, Justin Smith, Jordan Schmitz, or if Christopher Norris. He needs to see at least 3 of those drivers finish right next to him and have a bad night. Otherwise, he's seeing his playoff hopes gone because of that black flag.
That is so tough to see for that group, because he did a great job, got the top 5 in the stage, got the great bonus points there, was really, like you said, at the end of the stage, he was in that position to make it into the top 16 there to make the playoffs. But just simple mistakes like that, I'm unsure what he got the black flag for sure. But it just shows you, if you get a holding penalty here at Bristol, I mean, it's pretty much impossible to come back from. And that's really showing right here with a lot of the drivers. You know, like you said, a lap down, he's probably not going to be anywhere near that lap down position. Right now, he's got to hope for something to happen to those drivers around him.
Well, some drivers trying different strategies. Top 8 drivers deciding to stay out. Everyone else into pit road. And that is actually going to move up Justin Smith, Matt Uppbrook, 7th and 8th for themselves. Christopher Norris going to be even deeper into the field, as that of Danny Cochran into pit road for himself. He is going to be falling and actually losing positions for himself, as he's going to be back to 13th.
Interesting calls. I mean, those drivers are risking it right now, taking those tires, trying to see, you know, what they'll make the most of for them. With the first driver being Malik Kuntz there in the 8th position, he'll be able to see how well he can fire off with those older tires. But about 30 laps, not green flag laps on their tires, but about 30 laps there on the tires of the drivers up front. It's going to be a difference. But how big a difference will it be? And we've seen also, I mean, drivers like John Forbes, in my opinion, in the 11, Ethan Smith, they've kind of rebounded now up to 3rd and 4th, but they were really nowhere near the front there after that strategy to pit at the stage while other drivers jumped in front of them. So it showed you that track position is very vital to have, and they definitely have lost out on that now in the 2 camp there for that. We'll see how he can work his way back forward to see if he can challenge Whitley.
And Whitley is honestly looking like a dominant force up front. If he can get some good track position and get a good green flag run, he is going to be the driver to truly watch out for. As the drivers are stacked up, lights are off, getting into the restart zone. It's time for these ISRC race car graveyard trucks to get back underway. Green flag action, 9 cautions in. How many more will we grab? Let's find out as we're back under green flag conditions for the Bristol Thunder 200 presented by Lariat Productions.
And Mark Whitley once again shot out of a cannon out there out front to get a good giant gap on the group behind him. But we'll have to see, what do the new tires produce. The 98 of Malik Kuntz is the first one on him, and he's already up to 7th, looking to fight around that number 29 machine of Logan Brakey, and we'll see how long does it take that 98 to get up there.
I mean, he's already up to 5th place. He's probably one of the few drivers on fresh rubber that has made it work immediately, as he is side by side with the 13 machine of Cedric Hunter. Haven't talked about Hunter since he had his issues earlier in the race in those first 20 laps. Now, currently seeing the 13 battling for 5th with Malik Kuntz. And Kuntz starting to find that troublesome spot of not being able to make these moves as aggressively as he was hoping. He made that first initial start great, but now trapped with a veteran as a driver who knows what he's doing. And that 98 is going around, and there's the Malik Kuntz issue, and it gets slammed to the rear end by Joshua Freed.
Yeah, Joshua Freed coming in there late, and oh no, don't back up in front of the field. That was almost huge there, as whew, that would have been a head shaker, as I would say, if he backed up completely to the field. But yeah, the 98 they're getting loose, and looks like Fonseca there, Sam, just kind of continued through him.
That is going to see Joshua Freed getting the required damage after that contact from 39 into Malik Kuntz. And Malik, you feel bad. You just had a feeling this was going to happen. This is how his season has been. Runs well for at least half the race or maybe 3/4 of the race. And then something just happens and it strikes. Sometimes it's an issue like this where it's just a drivable moment where he just breaks loose on his own. Sometimes he's caught up in someone else's mess. This time, gets loose in the center of the corner, just too aggressive on the tires too early. And there he goes. When you got to see Ollie Fonseca also there, but Ollie more so finishing off the 98 instead of starting it.
Yeah, pretty much finishing it off. Yeah, I mean, he was thinking the 98 maybe would go farther out the racetrack as he was sliding out with the rear end, but it looks like the 98 was able to keep it somewhat down there. And then, Joshua Freed just like that was a heavy collision there for those two. And yeah, I mean, this has been the tale of the tape for his season so far for this 98 machine. Lots of speed, lots of things like that have been showing promise, but then all that promise turns back around and bites him when he makes those mistakes like that. And it was just getting into the corner a little too deep and losing that rear end.
Loses the rear end, and that's going to bring out our 10th caution of the night as we are entering the final third of this race. If you're just joining us now, welcome to Monday Night Racing on Freaky Fast Broadcasting, as we're giving you the coverage of the ISRC Race Car Graveyard Truck Series. This is the last race of the regular season here at Bristol before they get prepared for the playoffs starting next week. And Zach, the playoffs, 16 drivers make it in to go race for that one championship, and they start out at Daytona Road Course next week. Then they also have Homestead to be the first round of the round of 16.
Well, Florida is the home of the first round here we see. So Daytona there, the road course, that action's going to be immense. I mean, we've seen some great road course races throughout this season so far. And then Homestead, I think probably the best 1.5 mile oval that we have on iRacing. So first round, it's got some highlights in it for sure there, and these drivers are going to have their hands full once we get there. And I tell you, it's my favorite time of the season because that is when everybody comes out with just that much more of a mentality trying to fight and be competitive, as a lot of these drivers know tonight that, we're above those in the top 14 positions. They felt all confident coming in here tonight knowing that whatever happens here at Bristol happens. But starting next week at Daytona, they have to have every single point and every single duck in a row, because it can easily just go backfire on you, and you could be out of the next round, even if you're one of these drivers who has a ton of points built up.
Yeah, these points are so crucial on making sure you got the bonus points to head into the playoffs, but we already know 14 drivers that are locked in. We still have 2 spots to be grabbed. And those 5 drivers that are running for that opportune chance for playoffs, Christopher Norris, Eric Stamp, Matt Upbrook, as well as that of Jordan Schmitz and Justin Smith are the 5 drivers. 3 of them will not be running for a championship, and right now, Justin Smith, Christopher Norris in the best position, points-wise, to make it in. But we've got ourselves less than 50 laps to see solidifying who's into the playoffs and who's not, and it's Mark Whitley once again jumped the gun, and he is gone with that on lap 157.
Dominant performance so far. We'll see if he can put it all together here tonight and get that 4th win of the season. That would be huge for him heading into the playoffs for some momentum. And I think that's what a lot of the drivers who are locked in and in good positions to make it in, they all just feel like this is a momentum builder, and they can really try to make the most out of it here. As you're seeing right here, this mix of drivers battling. It's Ethan Smith and John Forbes there, the 2 teammates battling up. They got also Fonseca, the 74, Nick Crawford, ripping the top there, getting a good run for himself there, trying to move himself forward. But you also got Cedric Hunter with that major damage of the 13. He's got the 2 behind him on those fresh tires.
Ooh, Nick Crawford bouncing off the wall, keeping it off John Forbes, but honestly, that 74 utilizing the top, maybe a little bit too much of ripping the top there, but he'll close down, slide underneath, and we're seeing some drivers, some big movers so far. Joshua Altus, who's in 2nd place for the 94, up 23 positions from where he started. We'll touch on that again. Caution on the front stretch. It's the 16 of Joshua Kanata.
And big problems there for him is he started on pit road tonight. It made a rebound to get himself back on the lead lap. And right here, just involved in a little bit of a mix-up there between drivers. And I think maybe patience is what was the thing that kind of unfortunately didn't last here on this start, is we had some drivers trying to make their way back through with this incident.
As we get the replay set up for these drivers, again, I was talking about the driver's biggest mover so far. Joshua Altus up 23 positions for himself, and Ollie Fonseca in 6th place. He's up 22 spots. And then all the way down in 13th position, Tyler Dangler, who is going to be making it into the playoffs. He is currently in 13th, started in last place, up 19 positions. As get a look here at what brought out this yellow.
Yeah, we'll have to see exactly what this is. This is from the 16's point of view, and Kanata behind this. It's Ferraro that gets spun around from the 98's front bumper of Malik Kuntz, who's trying to make the rebound after that wreck there, and possibly just, in a hurry, as I would say, as a driver, and just kind of got a little too much there into the 51 and got him all sideways. And unfortunately for Kanata, he gets the worst end of that stick there, as his car is super damaged there with that hit to the front end.
From slow-mo, that looked very aggressive, and just nowhere to go for that Tyler Horn as he gets collected into this. But man, a lot of hard racing, and we will be losing another driver. The 16 of Joshua Kanata added to the garage area, as he'll be joining with that of Joshua Freed, Austin Halsey, and Ryan Crowfoot, who have also called it a night so far. Interesting calls. We are less than 40 laps to go. And Zach, it is the call from Blackjack Racing. John Forbes, Ethan Smith, both coming into pit road for tires.
That is risky, Sam, for sure, for that group. Maybe the only thing I can think that they're trying to do here is they're going to pit now. If we get a caution here in about 5 to 10 laps, we may have a lot more drivers maybe take a chance here and pit. Because the only reason I say that is we haven't seen too many drivers take advantage of the new tires. I mean, Nick Crawford, he definitely was soaring his way up there, but it wasn't like a huge major difference. They were still having a tough trouble to get past people. I mean, Danny Cochran, he's only got up to 6th. It just shows you that the tires are not that big of a deal, in my opinion. So I think you could see right here, possibly those two look to stay out for the rest of this race if other drivers come down.
Oh boy, I mean, I just feel like this is the last time you come into pit road, especially at Bristol. We've got less than 40 laps to go. This is an odd time, but I mean, if you're the only driver to come in at this moment, I'm not expecting anyone else to come into pit road, especially on the fact that you think of Malik Kuntz is in 15th. Yes, he was involved with that wreck, but Zach, he pitted 11 laps ago, as well as GT Rosari, Jesse Thornock. Those drivers that are ahead of Ethan Smith and John Forbes, they most likely aren't even going to come into pit road.
That's the way the strategy works out. I mean, with different agendas all around, sometimes you can just time the right pit stop, and you can be in a good position if it comes down to it. I mean, the only way I think you'll see a stop here for drivers, if we go straight to a lap about 185, at 15 to go, you're not going to pit any longer. But if we go to 185, the tires might have a good considerable amount of wear.
Well, the drivers are stacked up. They're ready to get rolling. It is going to be Mark Whitley, Joshua Altus, Nick Crawford, Ollie Fonseca on fresher tires in our top 2. As we're into the restart zone, we're gone as Mark Whitley took off so early compared to everyone else. They're still watching him with over a 3 truck length lead over that of 2nd place. But here comes Ollie Fonseca.
That was an awkward start for sure with Mark Whitley going so early. Altis kind of got caught off guard with that. But like you said, here comes Fonseca. He's on the fresh tires along with Nick Crawford and Danny Cochran. These 3 might be the ones to watch out for here coming down to the very end of this race. And we'll have to see how they mix it up and how they're able to get around this 94 to have a chance at that 77 up front.
Right now, Joshua Altus doing a great job. He's running that middle line, not allowing anyone to make a pass, but drivers having issues in the field, and that's going to be Martin Morales bringing out the yellow. And somehow, drivers were not more involved with that wreck.
You're exactly right, because Martin Morales hitting that inside wall, coming back up on the racing surface with the heavy hit to the inside wall. I mean, you're lucky everybody squeezed by there and there wasn't more trucks 2x2, because if there was, that would have been a bigger incident than it played out to be. But again, it's just the accordion effect here at Bristol that plays out. You have drivers up ahead of you that get into it. You lift for them. The driver behind you can't see you or see that action up ahead of you, and they don't lift and they run you over. And right there, I think Martin Morales, unfortunately, just got the short end of the stick.
Another driver going to be calling it a night right before that yellow flag came out. That's Tyler Horn in the 26 who is done. And another driver that's in pit road that could be calling it a night, that's Ryan Ferraro. Where I've been reading the chat, been seeing everyone talking about cautions. There's been a lot of them coming out. And just to let you know, as we're at 30 laps to go in this race, 12 cautions in. The most cautions we've ever had at a Bristol race was last season. They had 14. Then, if you look at them over almost, it was actually 20 at that of going to be New Hampshire when the drivers, excuse me, at that of the mile course of the Milwaukee Mile that had the most cautions in the history of the ISRC Truck Series. And for tonight, we do have overtime if needed. 3 attempts at a green, white, checkered, but that's going to be a caution inside of 5 to go that will set us into overtime. Well, Zach, less than 30 laps to go. Mark Whitley looking like the driver that's most likely going to win here tonight. That caution you were talking about has come out. Now the question is, who's going to come into pit road? And it looks to be only one, potentially two, coming into pit road. That's going to be Jordan Schmitz, as well as Mark Morales and Dakota Moniz.
Yeah, I think with how quickly that yellow came out there, looks like nobody electing to come down, and not too surprised by that. I think they might be done pitting, because just the way this race is playing out, you probably are not going to have the time with the green flag laps available to you to get back up there if you put yourself back there. So that's one thing that Mark Woodley and Josh Altice up here in the top 2 positions are going to have to worry about. They're going to have to sit here and say, man, how do we, pick and choose here to hold these guys back? Because we know we're on a disadvantage for tires, but the disadvantage is not too great. I mean, the tires are working for sure. Fonseca, Cochran, and Crawford have all moved their way forward here, but it's just not been, eye-opening differences so far with the amount of green flags laps we've had to make that difference bigger. So we'll have to see, but man, I tell you what, if you're Mark Whitley and Joshua Altice, you're on eggshells right now, just hoping that this race plays out well for you.
Hoping it plays out well, and as if this was a night race and we were out there in Bristol right now, it's still a little chilly out in the area. You might want some great clothing to wear, and one of the best clothing that you can go for is some of our Freaky Fast Broadcasting merch. As if you head on over to Store Frontier, we've got t-shirts, hoodies in different colors and sizes. We're going to put in the chat a link to go head over to Store Frontier to go get yourself a t-shirt, as it's great quality, great wear, and I gotta say, it is always so nice to put on my Freaky Fast merch when doing these broadcasts, and can't wait to see who else adds in the merch collection. As Mark Whitley, as well as Joshua Altice, front 2, they've been the front 2 for the last couple of restarts. Can Ali Fonseca, Danny Cochran change the mix? As Mark Whitley is gone, and here we go, as it's a huge shove by Danny Cochran to the 94, not able to fully clear, and Altice keeps second place.
I love what I saw there from Mark Whitley. He chose the bottom because he knew Danny Cochran was up top in that 4th position. He says, I'm going to put it on the bottom here, allow Fonseca to see if he gets a good enough restart. Fonseca kind of sleeping there, fell back to 4th with that restart, and right now, Mark Whitley's got that buffer. He's got Joshua Altice in the 94 behind him, and that's what he wants to keep. He doesn't want to have those new tires directly behind him, and right now, he's in a good position to hold these guys back. But Altice going to the top side. This is going to open up the bottom lane for those new tires.
Opening it up just for a quick moment. Not enough, though, of an opening, as Danny Cochran's going to go riding high. Now, that unique driving style we were talking about, it has not been performing well when there is traffic that is in front of Danny Cochran. He's not been able to make these passes, as here's one of the drivers that of note. Keep your eye out for Christopher Norris, as well as Justin Smith in 12th place. Those 2 drivers have to stay in front of that of Upbrook as well as Schmitz. If they're in front of those 2 drivers, they're going to be making their way into the playoffs.
It's so tough here if you're Christopher Norris. I mean, he is in a good position here to make it into the playoffs. and you know he wants to be conservative here. But at Bristol, you can't be too conservative. You can get ran over from your competition behind, and you got to make sure you make good laps here to get to the end of this race if you want to have a shot to go fight for a championship. They are in a sticky situation here running for these spots.
Well, the big thing for Christopher Norris, he's got at least a good buffer after the fact that he got good bonus points at the stage break, as well as just been up front. He had a good buffer about that of 3 points over that of Eric Stamp, as well as Schmitz and Uppbrook. So he was already feeling decent on the points with an extra value of 5 points on top of that because of his stage points. He's got about that is 7 points over Uppbrook, 9 points over Robert Schmitz, and that of 10 points over Justin Smith. So right now Norris is in the best position to move on, running where he's at, and Justin Smith would be good, but if he loses any more positions, he could be in the danger zone of being passed up by that of Matt Uppbrook.
He definitely is in that danger zone there, Sam, and he's right in the danger zone of the track also because there's drivers really charging for him. Malik Kuntz is one of them in the 98 up ahead of him. He's charging for, but also you got the 11 of Forbes, the 00 Ethan Smith on those fresher tires. They're trying to charge their way up there. You got Trenton jump also in the 46. If you're Justin Smith, you're in a very vulnerable spot right now.
Right now, Justin Smith needs to have a 4-point advantage. That is 4 positions ahead of Matt Uppbrook. Currently, right now, the 6 machine being ahead on where he's at. Uppbrook about to lose a spot to GT Rosari. That is almost on the barrier. Matt Uppbrook, he needs to stay in front of Dakota Moniz and GT Rosari, and he could be taking that final spot and making it into the playoffs.
Playoff racing is intense, man, and I tell you, it's already building up to that. We haven't even got to the playoffs, and these guys are all worried about points right now coming down to it. They want to be in with a shot to fight for that championship because it matters so much. The top 16 here is a prestigious honor just to make it.
And Justin Smith, he's losing ground. He is now moved down. He's in the bubble spot. Matt Uppbrook, where he's running right now, would take that final spot and make it into the playoffs. And one of the few drivers that have actually been able to make it to this point. He's got 0 top 10 finishes for the 15, and he could be making his way into the playoffs, but keeping it side by side, cannot be involved with a wreck as Dakota Moniz is trying to make this pass. And as this aggressive playoff racing implication action is going on, coming to 10 laps to go, the battle for second is also raging with Ollie Fonseca, Joshua Altis. Our leaders are about to be almost making a wreck with how hard they're racing up front.
They are racing so hard, Sam. I've seen multiple times contact between this group before here. You even got Noah Still coming into the picture there in the top 6, and Nick Crawford trying to fight for it on the bottom. But Altis, he has just been a thorn in their side. He has been able to hold them back with this top groove, and they have not been able to get the passing done on the bottom. But Fonseca here going to have a good shot, a good launch off of 4. He should clear him down into 1.
Finally able to clear, but how worn are those tires? The gap to that of Mark Whitley going to be about 2 seconds as Nick Crawford, you can see the battle wounds of the 74, scrapes on the right, scrapes on the left. It doesn't matter, the 74 trying to move forward as they's also going to have Noah Steele putting the pressure on as the 8 machines there as well. Christopher Norris is in with this group, but he might not want to be because if he closer it gets, the less openings he's going to have of an exit plan if chaos reigns.
I completely agree with you, Sam. This is a dangerous scenario to put him in. He's quick right now, and he's able to make this pass, it looks like, on Steele, but he is putting himself in the danger zone because it's Altis and that older tires that are holding up this group, and everybody's stacked up. Norris just cannot get involved in an incident, and he makes it into the playoffs, but he's going for it.
Oh, contact going to be the rear bumper of the 2. Christopher Norris going to be right in the thick of things. They're going to be a stack 3 wide as Danny Cochran, Nick Crawford, as well as Altis going to be side by side. This is for 3rd place. Christopher Norris, we keep the camera on him because if he gets caught up in a wreck, he could be bounced out. He was the most solidified driver, and right now he's in very much chaotic spaces. Danny Cochran almost giving contact. 5 to go. Mark Whitley loving this action. Contact. Norris holds on. Altis comes down. There's scattering, but they're going to be wrecking in front of the drivers. They keep it all straight. Somehow we're green, but now the picture falls back to Matt Uppbrook as that of the 15 now in the mix of all of this.
Oh, man, take a deep breath, Sam. This is getting wild here, guys. I don't know how we stay green with that contact, but we did, and it's going to come down here between Uppbrook and other drivers here. If they can gain points right now, it's all on the line.
Right now, Matt Uppbrook, Christopher Norris, they are in positions to make it into the playoffs with 2 to go. But if Matt Uppbrook loses, gets into contact, caution, Cedric Hunter, and we're going to overtime.
Oh man. This is not what you wanted to see for Christopher Norris, Matt Uppbrook. They're in such good spots. The yellow flag flies, and right now, everybody is just saying, we got to do this again? Really?
Oh boy. Well, settle in. The playoff implications aren't over just yet. Woo, we get to settle in because we are now into overtime. We got 3 attempts if needed. Christopher Norris is in the top 5. Don't know if that's where he wants to be, but if he finishes there, he'll move on to the playoffs. The next driver down is Matt Uppbrook, who is currently would be 16th in points, 17th in points if you looked at the numbers. Now would be Justin Smith, but Smith is down to 18th. That's a big buffer for Matt Uppbrook, so not looking like, as long as they finish where they're at, Uppbrook, Norris would be the ones moving on, and they were the 2 drivers that were inside of the top 16 coming into tonight. But if we see Uppbrook or if we see Norris caught up in a wreck here, Zach, that gives a complete opening to seeing Justin Smith move up, and Jordan Schmitz, who is one of the last cars on the lead lap. He's still out there on track. He's underpowered, but he's on the lead lap. So if a caution comes out, multiple drivers involved, the Ford has a very slim chance of making it into the playoffs.
My head is in a whirlwind right now, trying to weigh all these options these drivers have. I mean, Mark Whitley, he was driving into the sunset, had about a 3.4 second lead there, almost opened it up to 4 seconds at one moment. Now he's going to have another good restart, and we've seen how good his restarts have been, so I'm not too concerned for Mark Whitley here. Christopher Norris, though, in that 4th place position, that's a great run for him. But you got very aggressive drivers around you that want more out of this race. You got the 11 of Forbes, the 2 of Danny Cochran, and Forbes is on the freshest tires of this group up here. It's going to get very racy here. If you're at 38, you got to weigh the risk versus the reward. You know you want a good finish and some momentum heading into the playoffs, but you got to finish first to get into those playoffs.
Yeah, and for Christopher Norris, if we look at how this season's been going for the 38, this is his best run so far. His best finish before tonight was 5th at the Fuji road course. Then it was Kentucky all the way back to the beginning of the season for race number 2, where he finished 7th. So he's already inside the top 5, trying to get a second top 5 finish. But at the last Great Coliseum, gladiators are clashing. And again, we've seen a big wreck strike, and it's possible to happen here. Last season, the drivers did not go to overtime. It was back in season 2, where they only needed 1 attempt at overtime, and it was that of John Forbes that made it into victory lane. John Forbes is in 5th place, so if he wants magic to happen again, he may need multiple chances. And, oh man, I'm looking at the notes, and I believe we might have had another Malik Kuntz incident, Zach, of lost connection for the 98. Unfortunate for the driver who's looking for his best finish of the season. He'll come away in 25th position for Malik Kuntz as we're stacking up overtime. This is how overtime works. It is 2 laps. It is a green, white, checkered. If we get a caution under the first lap, we will go into attempt number 2. If we get the white flag, the gloves are off. No flag except for the checkered will finish out this race. Mark Whitley, Ollie Fonseca going to be the front 2. Then it's going to be Nick Crawford. Then of Christopher Norris, Danny Cochran, John Forbes, Jonathan Smith, Joshua Altus, Ethan Smith, Trenton Jump. First attempt at overtime. We're green. Mark Whitley, Ollie Fonseca already going to be taking off, but it's Ollie Fonseca with a little bit of a lazy start, and it's the 38 going to the outside. Almost was trying to go for the lead down in turn number 3. Mark Whitley looking for the white flag, and it's going to strike. It's the Larry Art Productions white flag as they go down in turn number 1. Everyone's holding steady. They're holding their breath. A little bit of contact going to be back for 5th place, but Mark Whitley, win number 4 in hand as that of the 77 dominates. Give him another win for the Mark Whitley. They're wrecking deeper behind. Justin Smith going to be involved. Uppbrook survives. It's Christopher Norris, Matt Uppbrook taking the final spots.
Man, oh man, what a crazy ending to the regular season here. Mark Whitley caps it off with a 4th win, but Matt Uppbrook coming home solidly in the top 10 position. And Christopher Norris with his best run of the season here, a 3rd place finish at Bristol. What a heck of a job there from this group.
Ooh, man, Mark Whitley, Ollie Fonseca, they certainly were trying their best, but Christopher Norris, Matt Upbrook, scary moments, and they will move on and race for an opportune chance for a championship. That is your regular season finale, and the driver that's been dominating for the majority of the season gets another win. But for us here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, we're not done just yet. We got the post-race show. We'll talk to our top three, and most likely either Christopher Norris or Matt Upbrook to get their thoughts on making it to the playoffs. We got the post-race show in a few moments. We'll stay right here. Enjoy the smoke show. We'll be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the post-race show for the regular season finale of the ISRC Race Car Graveyard Truck Series. And man, did the Bristol Thunder 200 give us a show presented by Larry R Productions. Mark Whitley, dominant fashion, gets to victory lane. And let's head down there to get the thoughts from the driver that gets his 4th win of the season. Mark, it's Sam and Zach up in the booth. Congratulations on another win this season. How are you feeling after that one?
Well, considering how everything went, I was just excited and pumped when we got to the line. I know I was counting down the laps trying to get to the white flag before, and then we got a caution like half a lap before I got to the white flag. So I was up. Heart rate was probably around 180, and then on that restart, I spun the tires a little bit, but still was able to get a good jump and tried to drive it as hard as I could on old tires, and it looked like 24 just had burned his stuff up getting around the 94. I could probably kiss that 94 because he was he definitely helped me out, let me get a little bit of lead, and everybody on fresher tires behind him kind of burned it up getting around him, and then once they finally got around him, my tires had gotten to the point where they're even better because I was running out in clean air. So I got to thank him for playing good defense for me. You know, I was kind of surprised when all those guys pitted when they did, but after that, we kept getting quick cautions, so I knew it was pretty much just I was on the last set of tires I could take, so I was just hoping for cautions to fall the right way, and everything worked out in the end. And 4 wins on the season matches last season before we even get to the playoffs. So I think we're riding high on some good momentum.
That you definitely are, Mark, man. I tell you, great momentum heading into those playoffs. And you got the Daytona road course and Homestead for the first round. You've had great performances on the road courses and also in the mile and a half this season. How do you feel heading into that first round?
It feels pretty good. Road course, that's one of the ones I feel pretty confident with. I think we ran here before in season 1 or something. I think we finished second, or we had a good run, and that's just a good road course. I've run it enough in the 24-hour race, so I have a good idea for how to run that track, especially with these trucks. So hopefully, if we don't win the race, hopefully just finish up front, and playoffs, it's all about advancing. And if we can go out in there and win a race early and go ahead and lock ourselves in, then even more. I know I think it's the first back-to-back win the league's had in a while, so maybe we can go make it 3 in a row. That's the hope. That's the prayer. Really just wanting to make it to the end of the playoffs. I know I might wind up missing one of the playoff races, so hopefully I can dodge that bullet. But we'll see.
Yeah, that back-to-back goes all the way back to season 2 where John Forbes did that. I mean, Mark, crazy to think of how this season has gone for yourself. A lot more kind of showing that of season 1 dominance at times where you are been so good up front. It's been kind of misfortunes early in races that take you out of contention. How do you feel like you are going to be able to keep yourself up front throughout all these races that are coming up into the playoffs? I know that this playoff system isn't your favorite, but you've shown that you can make it to the Final Four before.
Yeah, it's really just about staying focused. Qualifying is uber important, especially with these trucks. You can be out front in clean air; it'll help you save tires, and that was the key tonight. Getting that pole, being able to run the line I wanted to run. I know we got shuffled back a little bit in the middle of the race, and we were able to save tires a little bit. But passing is so hard once you got the top 3 or 4 trucks all on the same tires. I mean, passing was just really difficult. So I think it's going to be the name of the game, just trying to qualify up front, start up front, stay up front, and hopefully you don't get wrecked, or hopefully you don't get caught out on strategy. I feel like it seems to be the smaller the car counts, the more predictable your race can be. Seems like when you get those 30, 40 car count races is when usually it's just becomes unpredictable, and you could have the best run ever, and then all of a sudden 2 laps later you're dead last and out of the race. So I know usually playoffs have smaller fields. I think that probably bodes well for me personally. I think smaller fields just help me get more in a rhythm. It just seemed, I don't know if it's just a mental thing or what it is, but just like you said, I don't really like this format. Hopefully if we make it to the championship round, we can finally get off the snide, have some luck go our way, and maybe seal the deal.
We're hoping for that, Mark. But before we let you go here tonight, the floor is now yours for any shout outs.
Oh, yeah, big shout out Brantley Harpoon Design. He was up on the spotter stand tonight. Does all my paint schemes. He told me coming in this race I better go get one because he said this is one of my better tracks. So I'm glad I was able to perform for him. Got back to kind of like season 1 when we kind of dominated here. So big shout out to him. Check him out at harpoondesign.com. He does amazing work. He's got 2,000-3,000 paint schemes on Trade and Paint if you want to go check out some of his other work. And another shout out my teammate Jonathan. I think he might have got involved in a last lap wreck there, but he was running top 10 pretty much all night, I think, and finally starting to get some luck go his way right until the last lap. So hopefully he can get a little bit better finishes throughout the playoffs. Appreciate him. All the other Driven Motorsports guys that aren't in this league helping me practice and different kind of stuff during the week. And final shout out to y'all guys for putting on a broadcast. Awesome work always. It's always fun to go back and watch. It's always even more fun to go back and watch when you win the race. So appreciate that. And oh yeah, before I forget, my shout out to my family. They're always tuning in. My mom, dad, granddad, they all tune in. So I appreciate them and the league for putting on an awesome show. It's one of the better leagues I've been in. That's why I came back. It's just fun to run with all these guys. I know tempers can be flaring sometimes, but that's the beauty of it. I mean, there's some leagues tempers fly and it tears the league apart, but this one, it seems to kind of thrive on it. We get rivalries built up, and after the season, everybody kind of becomes friends again, and we go again next season. So glad everybody in here. They're some of the best racers I know. So just shout out to them.
Oh, certainly was a good one, Mark. Congratulations on your 4th win of the season, and good luck heading into the playoffs.
Thanks.
As we go from victory lane, let's go to 2nd place, where Ollie Fonseca had a fantastic run. Started off with an EOL after a penalty last week. Comes away 2nd, and our biggest mover, Ollie at Sam and Zach up in the booth. Congratulations on being the biggest mover and coming away 2nd place.
Yeah, thanks. I don't know if I've ever passed so many cars at Bristol. I just pick them off one at a time, man. Just be methodical and save the tires, and yeah, I don't know, man. It was crazy.
Well, Ollie, man, congrats on the great finish here tonight at Bristol. This has got to feel good for you to build some of that momentum heading into the playoffs. Take us through that. How important you feel like tonight's finish was for that first round?
Yeah, well, I knew I was locked in on points either way, so that took a lot of the pressure off. I just wanted to have a good run because the last 3 weeks have not been kind to me in the ISRC. And I ran a super late model race here last night and won that event. So I got some amount of practice in for this one, and definitely paid off. So that's always good.
That it certainly did pay off. I mean, Ollie, coming into the playoffs, we looked back to last season. You didn't have the ability to make it forward into the round of 12. But if we look past that, you were one of the faster drivers throughout the playoff run. How do you feel like you're going to come into this playoffs feeling a little bit more aggressive or more patient into this go around?
Yeah, I mean, I just know what I'm capable of. And I don't feel like pushing the issue is going to get me too far because that can cause mistakes. You saw what happened to me at Fuji. So the road course, I just want to get a clean finish there, and then I honestly can't remember where we go after that. I know it's an oval, so that's nice. So hopefully I'll get a good run there. I just want to be consistent. I just want to keep the consistency up. I'd love to get a win. I mean, I wanted tonight so bad, man, so bad. But I do also want to make it into the next round. So just all about getting consistent runs and getting as much practice in as I can. That's what's been killing me lately. I just haven't been able to practice as much as I was at the end of last season.
Well, Ollie, just to let you know, it's going to be that Daytona Road Course and then Homestead going to be the first round of the
Oh
round of
yeah,
16.
love that place.
So it's going to be a fun first round. We cannot wait to see how you perform in it. But before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any shout outs.
Yeah, of course. Just want to thank everyone who watches the ISRC. Got a great following. It's a great league. Just love putting on a show for the people watching. My parents, grandparents. Got to thank the crew chief / spotter Brandon. He does a stellar job. Ever since he's joined, he's made everything just so much more consistent for me. So I really appreciate him coming out every week for that. Thank my teammates at Larson Line. We're definitely holding strong. We're a good team, we're a good bunch of guys, and we all made the playoffs. So that was our goal, and we'll see how the rest of the season fares out for us.
Well, that's going to be the 24 machine of Ollie Fonseca coming away 2nd place here tonight, and we'll be running in the playoffs next week. Congratulations, Ollie, and good luck on practicing as much as you can.
Thank you, sir.
As we go from that to 2nd place, we're going to go to 3rd place to the driver that we believe unofficially has made it into the playoffs. We were hoping to also have the other driver that we believe that would have made it, which should be Matt Upbrook. We're waiting on official confirmation from the admins currently. But we go to 3rd place as we've got that of Christopher Norris with us. Norris, you come away 3rd. I gotta say, us up in the booth, we were freaking out because we knew you were in the good. You kept on pushing forward, coming with your best finish of the season. Man, how are you feeling after that?
Honestly, it's ecstatic. I mean, I can't believe that happened. I mean, we had a terrible one in qualifying. Practice was okay, but I mean, in qualifying, I just slammed that wall, and luckily we were able to get it back together. The truck was fixed and put on a good show.
Well, that you did, Norris. You definitely put on a good show, buddy. You made your way into the playoffs unofficially here. And how does it feel? Because You have some good tracks, in my opinion, coming up, especially with the road course ahead of you next in the first round. That's got to feel good because those have been some of your best performances here in this league.
Yeah, I mean, last week after getting involved in that, like, I really had nowhere to go. I was really just down. I didn't practice much. I thought, the worst things were gonna happen. I had huge anxiety before this race, stressing out whether I would make it or not. And fortunately, I was able to pull through and come out with P3.
P3 is what you got. And, Chris, you came into this race, one of those things of, that anxiety. Well, now we're heading into the playoffs next week. How are you feeling? You're one of the drivers that made it into the round of 12. Do you feel like you can make it to that point once again?
I mean, with Daytona Road, I should be able to. Homestead is not my strong suit, but I mean, there's practice for that. I know some guys who can help me out, and hopefully I can just get it right set up and hopefully get some decent finishes in the next few weeks.
We hope for a great run for yourself, Chris. But before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any shout-outs.
Well, of course, I want to give a huge shout out to my teammates, Nick Crawford, Cedric Hunter, for their help tonight, as well as Brandon Colley for basically being my crew chief and strategist. He helped me out a lot throughout the run. I mean, encouragement, telling me what to do. And he ran a few laps in practice himself beforehand privately and was able to get some stuff done to help teach me through, as well as Zach for helping me a little bit. And then, of course, you guys for the amazing show.
Well, that is going to be Christopher Norris. We've gotten word, it is official. Christopher Norris will be running in the playoffs next week, as well as Matt Upbrook. Congratulations on making the playoffs, Norris, and good luck running in it starting next week.
Thank you.
As that will be the third place finisher. Again, we were hoping to talk to Matt Upbrook. We're not able to get him up in the booth. But man, Zach, what a finale here at Bristol. It certainly put on a show here at the last Great Coliseum.
It really did, Sam, man. I'm so happy to see how it played out. We had drivers all that close, so many drivers close right there on the cut line, and they were able to, two drivers were able to squeeze their way through with that 38 and that number 15 of Upbrook and Norris there. That was just excellent job from both of them, because when you come into Bristol, the nerves are at an all-time high, especially when points are that much important.
Well, let's take a look at the unofficial results here tonight. We talked to our top three. Mark Whitley with his fourth win of the season has the best momentum moving in. It's the first time we've seen someone go back-to-back wins since season 2. It actually wasn't John Forbes, it was Anthony Gaudio, who had a very similar moment where he went back-to-back right before the playoffs struck. Missed out on the 3 running in that playoffs. We're expecting Mark to go for the championship this season. Ollie Fonseca going to get second. Christopher Norris, who takes 15th in points here tonight, going to be finishing in third. Nick Crawford 4th. John Forbes 5th. Danny Cochran falls to 6th place with Trenton Jump 7th. Ethan Smith 8th. 9th goes to Joshua Altis. And Matt Upbrooking his first top 5 finish of the season. And what a time to do it, to punch his ticket into the playoffs.
Huge moments are the ones that count the most, and those huge moments can lead to bigger ones. So great job by Upbrook there to get that top 10, but as the rest of the leaderboard comes through, definitely some nights for drivers that they're glad to be out of the last Great Coliseum, because they did not survive it, as they would say. So it was a tough showing for a few drivers out there, but you got to give credit to drivers like Jordan Smeech, Justin Smith. They stayed until the very, very end of that race trying to make the playoffs. Even Eric Stamp, that black flag really came back to hurt him. Never could recover from 5 laps down, ends up 24th. So tough incidences there for them, but they got the playoffs here to, kind of recuperate the rest of their season, get some good runs, and then come back for the next one.
And all these drivers, that made it into the playoffs, 16 of them all making it in, some based off of wins, some based off of just pointing their way in. And those 16 drivers, you see one of them on screen, the driver with the most points, Mark Whitley, into the playoffs. And then you got Nick Crawford, then John Forbes, Trenton Jump, Ethan Smith, Cody Reed, Logan Brakey, Danny Cochran to fight for his championship. He is going to be able to defend as he's made it into the playoffs. Noah Steele, as well as Ollie Fonseca, GT Rosari, Dakota Moniz, Joshua Kanata, going to be one of our 2 rookies that have made it into the playoffs, as well as Tyler Dangler. Dangler makes it in. 0 top 5s, 0 top 10s. He's going to be the biggest underdog coming into this playoffs. We'll see how well the 19 can confirm. Then the 2 drivers that made it in based off tonight, Christopher Norris and the second of our rookies, Matt Upbrook, the 16 drivers that will race next week for the playoffs. Gonna be seeing how that Daytona road course is gonna be set up. And Zach, I can't wait for it. The playoffs, my favorite time of the season.
You are not lying, Sam. It is definitely my favorite also, buddy. And I tell you, I can't wait to get to Daytona now because that road course sets up for some great racing. It sets up a big shift in the style of racing from here to Bristol to the road course there at Daytona. I'm telling you, folks, you're not going to want to miss that one because that one's going to be so critical for setting yourself up to head into Homestead with a good shot to move on to that next round. Because remember, these are round-based eliminations, and drivers are going to be on the edge every other 2 weeks. So it's going to be fun to see when we head into Homestead who's on that cut line and how close it's going to be because we've seen the tiebreakers come out before.
And if you want to know how intense these playoffs are going to be or what they can be like, go check out The Long Run, a back behind the scenes look at last season's ISRC Truck Series playoffs. There were intentional wrecks, there was drama flaring up, and it came down to Phoenix last season. Go check it out. And as well, season 2, we are going to have the behind the scenes for this season's playoffs. It is in the edit. We are getting ourselves prepared. Ooh, I cannot wait to see what the internal drama is going to be like for the season 4 playoffs, and man, cannot wait for it all to start next week. But if you cannot wait for racing action next week, we got plenty of more this week here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. As tomorrow night, it's going to be the Full Send Racing Series as we got more short track action as the trucks head to North Wilkesboro. Then on Wednesday, it's the Wicked Racing League, more short track racing, next gen at Richmond. Then on that of Thursday, it's Darlington for the Stars and Stripes and the ARCA car. Saturday, the last race of the week, going to be at Twin Ring Motegi Oval for the WSSR Rosa Gens Cup Series. If you get done with all that action, don't you worry. We'll be right back here on Monday. Playoffs start. Ooh, Zach, I am so excited for this thing. Daytona Road can't come soon enough.
It really cannot, man. We got some great races before that, but when we come back around, the playoffs are always a special time. I mean, as a driver myself out there, I know how these drivers are thinking right now. They're thinking, this is where it all resets. This is my opportunity to go fight for that championship. I mean, you got guys like Danny Cochran who won the championship last season that don't have a win. I mean, it just shows you that how close the competition really is here. And I think we could see a good showing for these playoffs with the drivers we got in there. This might be the strongest 16 they've had in all their other 3 previous seasons.
Some drivers might have thought this was going to be a cakewalk for a championship. I don't think so after what we've seen this season. So many different winners, so many great performances, and it all starts back up next week. Well, for tonight, thank you so much to everyone that joined with us as we get ourselves calmed down, settled down, and get ready for tomorrow night's action. Thank you for myself, Sam Dyer, for Zach Hall, for Robert Moyer Jr., and everyone else here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting. Thank you again for Monday night coverage and joining us for the ISRC Truck Series. We'll see you tomorrow night as the Full Send Racing Series, the trucks, get ready for North Wilkesboro.